y'all, it's Vitlame at Fang Pipsqueak Reads, and I finished another book. I think this might actually be a record for me. Never been able to finish so many, like 3 books in 1 month, and the month isn't over yet, so I intend to finish the 4th book as well. Hopefully you'll be able to see a review on it next Tuesday. But what book did I finish? I finished Kev Harrison's Past Best Left Untrodden. It's his short story collection, and I've read 2 of his works already. I read The Balance, which you can find a review on it on my channel, and I also read it was like a short novelette called The Wording, and it was also really good. I highly enjoyed The Balance, and I did enjoy his short story collection as well. So, what do we have inside this collection? What says here according to the blurb? The debut collection from Kev Harrison, author of The Balance, this tome brings together tales of Ghost in the Machine, folkloric creatures let loose, abandoned places, and dystopian nightmares. Containing 13 stories, 3 of which are previously unpublished, with 3 others never before available in print, take your first tentative step into the past best left untrodden. So yeah, it has 13 stories, and usually when I'm reviewing these kind of short story collections, there are, I usually pick the ones that were my favorites, the ones that stood out to me or had the most impact. But in general, I did like all of the stories. But I have a couple of stories that I did like. So the stories that are in Kev's collection, one is called Big Game, then there's Suppression, The Solstice, Special Order, Snap, The Fourth Wall, Left Behind, Contaminated, No Such Thing as a Free Lunch, Muscle Memory, Reasons for My Abscondence, The Waiting Game, and Communion. So, and of course he included author notes for each of his stories, which I really like. I like getting into the mind of the author and to see, the reasoning behind the stories that they created. So I did appreciate that they had the author notes at the back. But so let's start off with what I liked. So I actually like the first story called Big Game. It's about a group of guys who are off in the wilderness, I think in Britain, and they are, hunting. They're hunting any kind of game. So it starts off they're hunting, they hunted up this big boar, and then they kind of mentioned that they haven't had this kind of meat in a long time, and that got me thinking oh, okay, so is this kind of like a dystopian thing going on, where meat is not available anymore, or meat is just, not allowed to eat or something like that. Kind of got me thinking into that, and but then of course my depraved mind immediately went to so wait, they're gonna hunt people? I wasn't surprised when I finally reached the end. I'm not gonna spoil what is gonna happen in it, but I did like it. I did like the character. I think his name was Scott, who was kind of this unwilling character who didn't really want to go hunting, but was kind of forced into it by his coworker or something like that, or like a buddy of his, and I just liked how he kind of switched the, how I liked he switched the role that he was that he had at the beginning, and what role he decided to take in the end. So I really enjoyed that. Then we have The Solstice, and I really enjoyed that one. And Kev, if you're gonna watch this review of mine, I highly encourage you to write an extensive story out of this. This could be a really good novella, either like a young adult novella or maybe even middle grade novella. But I really, really, really enjoyed this one. So it's about this. I think it's in the northern part of Portugal, and there is this kind of ceremony. Kev mentioned it in the author notes that like this is actually still a thing in Portugal, where people wear masks during the solstice in order to ward off like these bad spirits. And this story here takes place in which a father, we're in the point of view of a father, who is bringing his firstborn son to like a craft maker who makes these specialized masks for his son, because he, as is tradition, he has to go forth and face off the spirits, like these kind of bad spirits. And I really liked this. And the only thing that I didn't really like was how the father was kind of portrayed. I mean, I know that, you know, in this kind of village type situations, you kind of have to go with tradition. You can't really go against it. But I kind of would want to have seen a little bit more, you know, I wouldn't say regret, but still like some kind of more emotion than just him being this kind of solitary man, being like, this is the way, or something like that, you know, like the Mandalorian stuff. I only got that from the wife. I think it was the wife, but she didn't really object to it as much as well. So, like I said, I would have want to have a little bit more, you know, in order to create the tension a little bit more. Just have a little bit more emotion from the father. Just, you know, other than, you know, him being, comforting his son and be like, you can do this, and it's no big deal or anything like that. I think that would have been great to see, like, since it was in his point of view, to see like how he faced off with it, you know, when he was a kid. But this is how my head was in when I was reading. But at the same time, I did really enjoy this story. And like I said, I really want this to be expanded into like a whole novel or novella or something like that. I also... Sorry, I got something in my eye. Being a little bit dry. Weather is so bad. You can probably hear it through the camera. Where was I? Oh yeah. I also like the story Contaminated. It's about, I think it's it happens in a seaside place in Portugal, I think. And there, like, this guy wakes up and just above his head, there's like this patch of black mold, and it's horrifying. I hate like mold. It's just ugh, it's just so gross. And he decides to clean it, of course, scrubs it all away, but then it appears again. And it starts spreading, like, rapidly, until it actually spreads onto him. And they try to go through, you know, the procedure of trying to, you know, get rid of it, and somehow he feels like he's getting sicker, and you can kind of feel the tension within the man who is, you know, inflicted by this. And then in the end, you know, he goes through a procedure like where he has to, it's a really invasive procedure kind of deal. And when he wakes up, he feels like there's still something within him. And yeah, the ending really took me by surprise. I was like, in the end, when I was reading, I was like, okay, so he's gonna get rid of it, and it's gonna be like a happy ending, ha ha ha, well, so fun. And then, like, that last line, I was like, oh shit! It blew me away. It took me by surprise so much. That's why I really love this story. I was like, damn. I love this story so much, despite the fact that I managed to find like a little bit of a plot issue. Like he, in this story, he, you know, hires an exterminator, and of course the exterminator goes, you know, prepared. You know, he has the goggles, he has like a mask that covers his, you know, entire face, because you don't want to breathe this stuff in, or the chemicals that he's using. And then he's talking to the main character. And then I think it says like he smiled, or like it was a thin line or anything like that. And I was like, how can you see that when he's wearing a mask? So it was kind of that kind of threw me off a little bit from the story, but other than that, it was okay. I also really liked No Such Thing as Free Lunch. It felt like a political story to me, and usually I love political stories, especially if it has something that, you know, when it's dealing with stuff that we're actually dealing with right away. In No Such Thing as Free Lunch is about this homeless person who discovers through his friend that there is this place that offers like free food. You can get like a lunch or I think both at lunch and dinner, or maybe a breakfast, I can't remember. It was just this kind of like new governor who was trying to be elected in this district. And he offered like this was his way on, you know, getting food to the people that most needed it, which is of course the homeless. And you know, he really loves it, and you know, this is a horror story, so you know what you're gonna find. You know what you're gonna find in this story, so I'm not gonna go into any details in regarding that. And that's what I loved about it. And I've always heard there's this it's like a morbid sick kind of quote, and people have been saying like, how to fight famine, eat the homeless. You can kind of get the idea what this story entails from that quote. So I really like that. I also really enjoyed the despair from the homeless person in the story. And then, you know, in the end, that he kind of accepts what's happening. And to me, that was for the most horrifying part in reality, because, you know, because he had to do it out of necessity. And you kind of, you know, what are you going to do if you need food? This might be something that you need to do. And that, for me, was the most horrifying part. And that is why I really love that story, because, you know, it tackles real life things, and things that might, you know, you never know, it might actually happen. I'm terrified if that happens. The last story that was one of my favorites was The Waiting Game. I love that one. That is actually my favorite story out of the collection. I love a good revenge story. Probably, if you guys have read my stuff, you probably seen a kind of like a connection there. I love revenge stories. They're just so good. So this is basically about a guy who wakes up like in the middle of winter, I think, outside, and he's just wearing a sleeping bag, and he's like, what the fuck? What happened here? And then he has like a wine stain on, and he's like, wait, I was talking to my girlfriend, I think. And then he sees a hut like a little bit off in the distance, and he decides to go there. But then something attacks him. And of course he thinks it's like a vicious dog or something like that, but it's a fucking Komodo dragon. I just love that. And he kind of discovers that he's like trapped in a Komodo dragon, like a cage that is in the zoo. And he's like, what the fuck? And he can't go anywhere. He like the Komodo dragon actually managed to bite his leg. And as he tries to escape, his girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend, comes, and she's like, oh, you're awake. Well, I'll just have to wait then. And he's like, waiting for what? And if you guys know what a Komodo dragon can do, this story is gonna be so enjoyable to read. Because I know, when I was reading it, I knew what a Komodo dragon could do. I had actually watched like a nature documentary about them like a couple of years ago, and just these creatures kind of really stick to me, and they're horrifying, and just, why are they alive? Why is this thing alive? And just, you know, the Komodo dragons are just renowned for their patience. So basically this story was just a revenge story based around a Komodo dragon waiting for its meal. And I just loved it. It was so good. I just loved the callousness of the girlfriend. I think her name was Claire. Wasn't it Claire? Yeah, Claire. I just love the callousness and the viciousness that she has. She's just, you know, standing behind the fence. She's like, oh, well, I mean, you slept with my sister, so this is just what's gonna happen to you, fucker. I just loved it. It was just so good. I loved how he managed to, how Kev managed also to write the tension in it, and, you know, what's his name? Liam, I think, yeah, Liam. You know, to write his dread, you know, his incoming dread, and just his fear and everything. I loved it. It was so good. I really, really liked it. Some of the stories also were filled with a lot of dread and tension. Snap, for example, was like a little flash fiction story, kind of like a haunted toy kind of thing. The ending was also took me by surprise. Didn't expect that, and I really liked it as well. And I found, what story was it again? I found Special Order to be really weird, but I didn't like it, but at the same time I was like, what? It's about like a pizza order mixed in with a little bit of a sci-fi element, like sci-fi horror element. Didn't enjoy it was weird. Didn't enjoy it as much as the other stories, but mainly because the reaction of the guy Marco was kind of like weird in my opinion. Just, you know, if you would be faced with this kind of weird, bizarre situation, I think I probably would have reacted a little bit more like intensely about it. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. I also loved Muscle Memory. It reminded me of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I just really loved how he managed to connect that with that, as Kev mentioned, with a little bit of romance. It was portrayed nicely. I really liked it. Some of the other stories are a little bit more mellow, weren't as filled with dread and tension as the other ones, so they're okay. I mean, what did I say? Yeah. So all in all, you know, Kev's writing is, you know, really easygoing. You can really just jump right into it, and you can just be, you know, immersed into his stories. And what I really also liked is each of the characters, like each story had like a distinct voice. So there wasn't, you know, you weren't really kind of stuck, you know, even though there were different stories, you weren't stuck with the same voice. So there were different voices there, and you really managed to, you know, be kind of traveling in that kind of setting with that voice, and that's what I really liked. So I'm giving this collection like 3.5 out of 5 stars. And I really can't wait to see what Kev has to offer more. I know he has a new novella out called Below, and I really want to read that one, but I need to finish my first TBR, this long stack of TBR that I started, I think, in July. So I'm gonna finish that. Probably be part of my October reading. I'm probably not gonna be in the spooky sense that much. Not really, but I'm gonna stick to my TBR. I'm on a book buying ban at the moment, so I'm just gonna stick to this TBR. Might read a couple of stuff from my Kindle, but yeah. If you enjoy these kind of stories, like this short story collection, you should definitely grab Kev's collection. It's available on Amazon. And just grab his books as well. The balance is really great. The wording was really great as well. And as far as I know, Below is also phenomenal. So you should definitely read more Cav Harrison. So I'm gonna say this is the Fang Pipsqueak Reads, and I'll see you on my next review. Bye.